Good morning, world, and welcome to the Patriot Party show. Are you tired of biased media and headline spin? At the Patriot Party, we bring you real news rooted in truth and the Constitution. Every Saturday morning, we break down the week's biggest stories, from politics and world affairs to finance, tech, and entertainment, all through an America First lens. With bold debates, grassroots guests, and honest reporting, we make truth meet every corner of the news. Follow the Patriot Party on Spotify and join the conversations shaping America's future. Now, before we get started with your morning, I want to share some super exciting personal information with everybody around the world that listens to us. I reunited after over 12 years with my beautiful daughter this week, or my other beautiful daughter, and I am so happy. My heart is so full of, and Alex, if you are out there listening, I love you so much. Now let's get to the morning news and get y'all caught up with everything that's gone on this week. A senior White House source says there have been back channel communications with a member of the commander's ownership group. Now that's the Washington, used to be the Washington Redskins. Remember before they did all that name change stuff, which I don't even think the Native Americans minded them being called the Redskins because it was almost kind of like a tribute, you know. But that's neither here nor there. That has nothing to do with this. Anyway, so Trump has expressed a desire to have the $3.7 billion dome stadium in the nation's capital named after him. We'll see how that goes. I don't know. That's normally Washington's normally a pretty blue area. You know, if you look at their mayors and their elected officials, uh, I don't know how well that's going to go. So we'll have to wait and see. President Donald Trump has pardoned former MLB great Darryl Strawberry. The 1983 Rookie of the Year and an 8-time All-Star of tax evasion and drug charges dating back to the latter part of his playing career. President Trump also pardoned a list of top allies, including Rudy Giuliani, in connection with the efforts to overturn the results of the 2020 election, according to the U.S. pardon attorney Ed Martin. The list of pardons includes high-profile figures such as Trump's former chief of staff, Mark Meadows, lawyers Giuliani and Sidney Powell, as well as dozens of others. An administrative official confirmed the news early Monday morning. Really, and this is completely a personal opinion. After all the lawfare and everything that I reported on that was going on in 2024, I don't blame him. As far as I'm concerned, none of these charges were corroborated by the evidence. It was a sham. And I remember doing extensive reporting, legal analysis, everything on everything that was going on. And it was a sham. The Supreme Court rejected a long shot effort Monday to overturn its ruling guaranteeing same sex marriages nationwide. Former Kentucky County Clerk Kim Davis directly asked the justices to overrule the 2015 landmark decision after a jury awarded damages to a couple whom Davis refused to issue a marriage license. Now, you may agree with her personally. You may. But refusing to issue marriage licenses after the Obergefell, which is the case that was ruled on by the Supreme Court that basically legalized same-sex marriages, so it was already ruled on, is seen as a violation of constitutional rights because it denies equal protection under the law. So, per the Patriot Party's principles available on our website at thepatriotparty.us, we rule this unconstitutional. President Trump asked the Supreme Court on Monday to toss a jury's verdict finding him liable for sexually abusing writer E. Jean Carroll in the mid 1990s. Now, you remember, she couldn't remember the time, she didn't have a date, she went on TV and said, rape is sexy or something to that. I don't know if that's verbatim, but it was something to that extent. She did this at the same time she was releasing a book, so it seemed to be a publicity stunt. I mean, you don't get sexually assaulted and say it's sexy. You don't get sexually assaulted and not remember when it happened. I'm sorry. So Carroll has taken Trump to trial twice and won a total of 88.3 million in damages. 88.3 million. Do you know that if guards in federal prison kill you for no reason, they've got a cap where you can only get 700, your family can only get 750,000 for the violations and the death of a family member? So the government values lives at 750,000, but they want to make Trump pay almost 100 million. Tell me where the balance is there. But the key legal questions likely at issue: whether the trial was conducted fairly under constitutional standards. Nope. Whether Trump's defense, such as immunity or procedural objections, were improperly rejected. Yep. Whether damages awarded were excessive or legally flawed. Yep. And I say, after watching, reporting, and doing the legal analysis on the trial in real time, I truly believe that this was a kangaroo court to the fullest extent. And I believe the answer to all three of these questions will be in Trump's favor. But we'll just have to wait and see. President Trump's proposal to use tariff revenue to pay individuals at least $2,000 is facing legal and logistical roadblocks, as well as skepticism from some on the right, some of his own party. Trump has floated the idea of sending dividends to the American people multiple times throughout his time in office. But his most recent proposal over the weekend comes as his administration is simultaneously facing public frustration over affordability and a Supreme Court case that threatens to undercut his sweeping use of tariffs, which I believe will probably be ruled against him. So the legal challenges: constitutional authority. Congress controls federal spending. Redirecting tariff revenue directly to individuals would likely require legislation, not just executive action. Supreme Court case. The court is currently reviewing Trump's broad use of tariffs. If the justices limit presidential discretion, it could undercut the legal foundation of this proposal. Trade law limits. Tariffs are meant to regulate trade and protect industries, not serve as a direct funding mechanism for domestic payouts. Using them this way could face legal challenges from businesses or trade partners. Logistical challenges. Revenue volatility. Tariff income depends on trade flows. If imports decline, revenue shrinks, making consistent $2,000 payments difficult. Well, I don't think he was trying to do I don't know if he's trying to set it up where it would be reoccurring or just a one-time deal at this point. I don't know. Distribution mechanism: the government would need a new system to send dividends directly to individuals, similar to stimulus checks, but tied to unpredictable tariff revenues. On a personal note, I really hope that we see this $2,000, and it would be nice if it was reoccurring, to counteract the tariffs. But in my opinion, there are too many moving parts in this, and without legislation, it's probably executive overreach. U.S. to cut tariffs on bananas, coffee, and dozens of other goods as cost of living concerns rise from 4 countries. He's gonna cut this on, I think, the tariffs. He's also going to include Argentinian beef. Beef prices have been crazy going up, so he's going to include that. So the 4 countries are Ecuador, Argentina, El Salvador, and Guatemala. We'll have to see. I guess Brazil's not in there. They had that big tiff back and forth over the prosecution of a Trump supporter that was, I think, the past president that tried to do a coup. So, and it was back and forth. So I guess he's not doing Brazil. The president called polling on the economy fake and said that concerns about affordability are a con job by the Democrats. But most Americans say they're spending more under Trump and blame him for rising prices. Trump claimed costs are way down, despite clear evidence that the price of residential electric bills, furniture, electronics, and groceries, among other things, are higher since he took office in January. Listen, Trump, just because you don't like something doesn't mean it's fake or not real. All I got to say is, for your own party's sake, you better start listening to we the people. Your midterms may unveil a very unpleasant surprise if you don't. I mean, the strategic thing to do would not be to say, Americans are lying, the things are fake. It would be to disassemble the whole Democrats' premise of affordability and how they make things even less affordable by what they're proposing with their agendas. But that was the same thing I was complaining about during the debates. There's no substance anymore on either side. They don't talk about real issues with real people and real answers. They just find some buzzword, affordability, and they run on it, even though their stuff's not more affordable. All these agendas, and none of them correlate to what's best for we the people. And that is why the Patriot Party is coming in so strong, because we are standing for we the people. We are giving we the people a voice in Washington, D.C. You know, I want these people to talk about real issues with real people and real answers to get some real results. But if they can't, we will. We will. All they do is give us generalized, things are great, things are fake. Give us some substance. We want answers, we want results. And that's what the Patriot Party is going to get we the people. Emails released by Democrats show convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein telling associates in the 2010s that, of course, President Trump knew about his relationships with underage girls. The three emails released Wednesday by Democrats on the House Oversight and Government Reform Committee show Epstein's correspondence with his associate Ghislaine Maxwell, as well as columnist and author Michael Wolff. In the short exchanges, Epstein says Trump spent hours at my house, while another says the president knew about the girls. So my question is that is, okay, well, what happened when you met with Ghislaine Maxwell, when you went against BOP policy after the meeting and moved a sex offender with more than 10 years to a prison camp, Club Fed, which is never done because it's against BOP policy? Why did you come out after the interview and say, she said that Trump had nothing to do with it, and he was never mentioning anything? But now we got emails. Now we got emails where Jeffrey Epstein is saying it. Now, it doesn't mean it's true, but why? Because she got the emails. It says she got the emails. Why? Why? Did she lie trying to get a pardon? Because that's what it seems like. The whole thing stunk of corruption when it went down a few months ago. How they went and ran real quick with people on the administration before she could meet with the Senate, and she was trying to put the Senate off, but said, I'll be happy to talk now if you want to give me a pardon. That looks like corruption. In a 2011 email addressed to the Duke, whose email address has been redacted, Epstein first asks if the recipient is okay and adds, these stories are complete and utter fantasy. I don't know and have never met Al Gore. Clinton was never on the island. Really? Now, we don't know because this is hearsay. This is not definitive proof, but this does raise some doubt questions. Now, Republicans accuse Democrats of cherry picking, and they released 20,000 plus pages of other Epstein documents as soon as those emails were released. And I mean, all I can say about this is, depending on the supporting documents, this could be really bad for Trump. It really could. And then, as the story developed and came, other stuff happened throughout the week. Trump says, and I think this was yesterday, he said, I think the story came out yesterday. Trump says DOJ should probe Jeffrey Epstein and JP Morgan and Reid Hoffman. Now, these are some big time people, some big time businesses. But I thought the whole thing was fake. Trump, you said it was fake. When you did that, I said, oh, so somebody's in prison for 20 years. And we've all these victims, you just spit in their face by saying, oh, they were never victimized, even though there's a conviction, there's sealed documents, there's all this stuff. And he said it was staged by the Democrats. But I mean, when you went on social media and you said it was fake and it was staged by the Democrats to be a fake, how can there be something wrong if something was fake? Why does the DOJ need to investigate these people? Y'all have had the records. Y'all said there was nothing in there. None of this is matching up. I always say, where there's smoke, there's fire, and I smell smoke. There's a new Kennedy in town, Jack Kennedy Stoltzfus, and I may have mispronounced that name, is the 32-year-old grandson of President John F. Kennedy and the son of Carolyn Kennedy. Despite being known as a member of one of America's most iconic political families, he previously asserted he had no plans to enter a race of his own, a political race. However, he announced on November 12th that he would be campaigning for a congressional seat in New York's 12th District, an area that encompasses the United Nations, Times Square, the Empire State Building, and Central Park. With that family name, I mean, he may do well. He may be able to ride the coattails, especially up in New York, and maybe he'll make a great politician. I mean, I've heard great things about JFK. I mean, I've heard really good things. So, the GOP-led House passed a spending package reopening the government, and President Trump signed it into law late Wednesday, drawing a close to the record-long 43-day shutdown driven by Democrats' demands to extend expiring health care subsidies. The secret meeting that ended the shutdown. A group of centrists broke from Democrats, negotiating with Republicans to end the shutdown. We need more centrists of all kinds, all parties, so we can cross the aisle and get more done for we the people who put you in office to do a job. Fani Willis, Georgia election interference case against Trump will carry on for now with new prosecutor. All I can say is I hope they got some new evidence. They got a new prosecutor, they better have some new evidence. Republicans in Washington successfully diffused the 43-day government shutdown without surrendering to Democrats' demands to spend billions more to offset spiking health insurance costs. Now the GOP is under mounting pressure to figure out its own plan. Enhanced Affordable Care Act subsidies are set to expire in just weeks, which would more than double the cost of premiums nationally for tens of millions of Americans. So we got to offset something with taxpayer money, something that's inefficient. That sounds like a drain. And this is exactly what our last Fixing America podcast covered with the start of our special series. We also worked in unison with our guest, Mr. Crom Carmichael, who was on Fixing America, one of our country's top thought leaders. So we worked in unison with him to create a viable solution for healthcare, a replacement for Obamacare. Our proposal should be common sense, bipartisan legislation. I'm sure it will be made partisan because everything, hot topic, political, this and that, nobody wants to come together. But this is a bill where people should come together. But if you look at everything, it is truly an America First proposal. You can check the bill out on our webpage. There's a tab up in the top to go to the other page. We have one other page that we added. It's called Proposed Legislation. It's got our our flagship Constitutional Quality Control Board, the date it was proposed to Congress and taken up, and then the healthcare reform bill, and it has what was proposed to Congress and the date that it was taken up. We believe in full transparency. We are here to bring the people, American people, world, we are here to bring you the truth and be transparent. So you can go to the patriotparty.us, go to the proposed legislation page, and look at everything and see what you think. So let's get into some world news. Let's get into some. This has been quite a news cycle. This cycle. Most of the world's nations are gathering in Brazil's northern city of Belém to negotiate the ongoing response to climate change. The United Nations Annual Climate Summit, called COP30, begins Monday and is expected to last about 2 weeks. This year, the U.S. will not play an active role in talks, according to a White House statement to NPR. No high-level officials will attend, breaking a long-standing tradition. Now, on another strictly personal note, I don't blame him. From everything I've read, it feels like these things are such a waste of time and money. Because if you do believe in climate change, if you do, no real change will take place until we can include all the countries that can't afford climate change, but contribute to so much pollution with manufacturing, inexpensive manufacturing for the world. Think about it. Everything in the world is interconnected. World, land, crops. Therefore, to affect any real change, we have to change as a whole, not just change sections while leaving other sections, because all sections interconnect. The United Kingdom is no longer sharing intelligence with the US about suspected drug trafficking vessels in the Caribbean because it does not want to be complicit in US military strikes and believes the attacks are illegal. Per our story last week, they may be right on the money about this being illegal. Especially now, since the Wartime Act Trump used to strike these boats, he is now contradicting and saying that he doesn't need congressional approval to go past 60 days because it doesn't meet the criteria of the Wartime Act itself. Like he's basically saying it doesn't meet armed conflict. Well, then how come you could enact the Wartime Act to start with if it doesn't meet that criteria? But they're doing it because it's illegal in this country. Their concern is not just this country. If intelligence is used to justify military strikes, they could be complicit in actions they view as illegal under international law. So they're not even really worried if we're breaking our own constitution. Who could care about that if you're another sovereign nation? But they think it's breaking international law. And after reading up on it, it could very well be. A corruption scandal engulfing Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky's government is casting an ominous shadow over plans by European nations to send Ukraine a big influx of money and over Kyiv's bid to join the European Union. The scandal involving kickbacks at Ukraine's state nuclear power company and implicating a close friend and former business partner of Zelensky's has revived concerns about European money being siphoned off by graft instead of helping Kyiv defend against Russia's invasion. This really doesn't surprise me, especially since I did a story last year about Zelensky taking his wife to Paris and buying some limited edition Bugatti for buku's millions of euros. And I was like, this is someone's tax dollars. I thought it was American. It might have been European. Somebody's tax dollars are buying his wife a Bugatti. Now, do I have any proof of that? No. But that's what I said when I reported on that story last year. So let's get to some finance. America's oldest coin, and it has been around since 1793, has stopped being made. Trump has stopped the minting of new pennies. There will be no more pennies, y'all. But this leads you to ask, what about when they do promotional prices for 99 cents? And what about sales tax? How are they going to do that if they don't have any pennies? Verizon Communications is planning to cut roughly 15,000 jobs, looking to reduce cost as it contends with increased competition for both wireless service and home internet customers, according to people familiar with the matter. Stocks fell sharply Thursday, weighed down by technology shares and concerns that the Federal Reserve will hold interest rates steady in December. The NASDAQ composite led indexes lower, falling 2.3% as chip stocks, including NVIDIA and Broadcom, were hit hard. Tesla skidded 6.6%, and data center operator CoreWeave tumbled 8.3%. NASDAQ slide during November deepened to 3.6%, even as the government reopened after a record-long shutdown. The Dow, meanwhile, fell 798 points or 1.7%, with losses accelerating in the afternoon. The blue chip index was dragged lower by Disney shares, which fell 7.7% after the company reported a lower than expected revenue. Disney is one of those companies that has taken a bit of a hit. You know, I don't know if y'all remember last year during the election, and you go woke, you go broke. Disney's really taken they've really done a 90-degree on that. But last year they got hit hard, and I think this is kind of residual. It's following into this. It may get a lot more expensive to be a billionaire in California. And from the new mayor in New York, it may get much more expensive there as well. A ballot initiative proposed by Healthcare Workers Union would take aim at the Golden State's richest residents with a one-time 5% tax on net worth over 1 billion. This would mean pursuing assets like stocks, artwork, and intellectual property rights rather than income. This is the same kind of mentality and lack of insight and need for immediate gratification that is contributing to the decline of New York City and California. And companies are leaving them, which in turn means they have much less tax revenue and can pay for fewer programs. So, yes, in short term, it may be okay, but for the long term, you are literally suffocating your cities and states. Stop. Stop doing it to the people. UPS slapping late fees, collection threats on tariff bills. We reported a few weeks ago, a month ago, how UPS had integrated, their system into being able to charge these tariffs relatively easily. And now it seems like that people are being threatened with late fees and collection threats and all that stuff over tariffs. So we'll see. Now we have a lot of highlights in tech news this week. A lot of tech highlights. OpenAI released GPT 5.1, a faster, more customizable version of its flagship model, designed to be warmer and more user-friendly. Microsoft announced a new humanist superintelligence team led by Mustafa Sulman, aiming to develop AI that is constrained and calibrated for human values. Good. Oh man, they are not going to be careful until they develop one that can think for itself. I'm all cool with AI. Feet first, dove in. I'll have 3 AIs on 3 screens carrying on conversations, work back and forth. But I said we were in trouble if they ever learned how to think, because then that's when the science fiction could become science, where they literally view us like on the Terminator as one of the biggest threats to the world. So they try to exterminate us so we don't destroy the world. I don't know, but it just seems like that could be a realistic option if they learn to think. We cannot teach them to think. Now, we can teach them to do little jobs like ourselves. Like I can teach AI to do a program like I would do, or do a function off of how I do it. But if it ever learns to think on its own, I just feel like that's the problem. Meta unveiled Omnilingual ASR, a speech recognition system covering over 1,600 languages, pushing accessibility and global communication. Alibaba introduced Gwen, a project to challenge ChatGPT globally, signaling intensifying competition in consumer AI. Apple is rumored to be entering robotics, penciling in a $133 billion robo business expansion. MSI launched a 27-inch QD OLED gaming monitor with a blazing 500 HD refresh rate, appealing to esports esports players and graphics. I don't play video games, but it sounds pretty rad. iOS 26.2 beta rolled out with new liquid glass customization and alarms integrated into the Reminders app. Amazon Echo Show reviews highlighted improved AI-driven features and smarter home integration graphics. Salesforce acquired Dottie, a startup focused on AI-driven enterprise search, expanding its R&D hub in Israel. SoftBank sold its NVIDIA stake to double down on OpenAI investments. Cybersecurity firm DeepWatch laid off dozens as it shifts resources towards AI development. AI, every week. TikTok launched Bulletin Board, a new in-app communication channel for creators to share updates directly with followers. Let's get into some sports for the week. Let's get into some sports. There's several stories. A month after Mark Sanchez was involved in a near fatal fight while in Indianapolis to call an NFL game for Fox, he's been officially fired. So the quarterback turned broadcaster has been let go officially by Fox. I don't know if y'all remember the story a month or so ago. Cleveland Guardians pitchers Emmanuel Claus and Luis Ortiz have been indicted on a host of charges related to an alleged scheme to rig bets on pitches thrown in MLB games. Ortiz is in custody. Giants fire coach Brian Double. Joe Schoen remains as GM. The NBA announced its long-awaited plans to overhaul the All-Star game Tuesday night, laying out how the new United States once again versus the world format will go and how the teams will be formed. Tennessee Titans cornerback Jarrett Sneed was indicted by a grand jury on Tuesday in Dallas County, Texas, on a misdemeanor charge of failure to report a felony from an incident that occurred in December of 2024. Sneed is accused of having observed the commission of a felony under circumstances in which serious bodily injury or death may have resulted and knowingly failed to immediately report the commission of the offense to a law enforcement officer. The charge is punishable by 1 year in county jail and or a fine of up to $4,000. I'm sure he'll get fined in probation. I don't think he'll get maxed on that, but that's just my opinion. Trump's granddaughter shot a 13 over 83 on Thursday in her LPGA Tour debut in the Annika, leaving President Donald Trump's granddaughter last in the 108-player field. 14 charged in mafia-backed betting ring involving athletes. 14 people were charged for their roles in a multi-million-dollar illegal sports betting ring that involved college athletes and had links to organized crime. Ex-NBA player Patrick Beverly has been arrested in Texas for felony assault. Man, all these daggum, we've been reporting on it for weeks. All these daggum sports people going to jail, all this freaking drama. Yesterday, a lot of you will be happy to hear this. Yesterday, YouTube TV and Disney reached a deal to restore access to ESPN networks after a two-week standoff. Let's get to celebrity news and gossip. Diddy busted by prison officials for drinking. I bet he's in the SHU. That's a SHU, the Special Housing Unit. To my understanding, that's where if you've been drinking alcohol in federal prison, you're going to get thrown. And from my understanding, it's very unpleasant. You are not around people, and it is very unpleasant, is what I've been told. Sally Kirkland, Oscar-nominated star of JFK and Bruce Almighty, dies at 84. Akon, I got locked up. Failure to appear for suspended license. So Akon was locked up for not appearing for a suspended license. Food influencer Michael Duarte was shot and killed by cops in Texas after he threatened to kill people, according to new details released by police. The sheriff's office said Duarte approached a responding deputy, threatening. Paramedics were already at the scene, and after multiple verbal commands were given to Duarte to get on the ground by the deputy, Duarte charged toward the deputy while yelling, "I'm going to kill you," and I think he had a knife, and he got shot. So he must have had some kind of break or something, some kind of mental break for that to happen. I don't know. I'm just kind of talking out my neck here. I don't know, but he must have. Kim Kardashian is richer than ever. On Wednesday, her apparel company Skims announced it has raised $225 million in new funding, pushing its valuation to $5 billion and adding $200 million to Kardashian's fortune. Kim K is now worth $1.9 billion according to Forbes. That's up from $1.7 billion before the new round. And if I'm not mistaken, she does reside in California, which means she may be subject to the new billionaire tax if everything goes through. Cardi B gives birth to fourth baby. Let's go into some new movies for the week. Cantha, it's in theaters. action drama about survival and emotional resilience. Kumki 2, theaters, musical adventure exploring bonds with nature. DD Ply, D2, theaters, comedy about relationships and family chaos. Playdate, it's on Prime Video. Comedy adventure where a simple playdate spirals into absurd danger. I might have to check that out. We'll see what that looks like. Jolly LLB3, it's on Netflix and Geo Hotstar. Courtroom drama tackling a land dispute with humor and intensity. Telusu Kata, OTT platforms, emotional drama about love and loss. Dude, OTT platform, quirky comedy about friendship and unexpected twist. Let's go into some new TV shows this week. Deli Crime Season 3, that's on Netflix, crime drama, continuing investigations into complex cases. Barmula, Netflix, supernatural thriller set in Kashmir. Stranger Things Season 5 is coming out very soon on Netflix. Final season of the sci-fi hit releasing in batches. And my youngest daughter is a very big fan of Stranger Things. We do watch it in this house, and it is a good show. So I definitely recommend it. Palm Royal Season 2, Apple TV. Satirical comedy about ambition and high society. A Man on the Inside, Season 2, Peacock. Comedy, drama about undercover antics. Pluribus, Apple TV. New drama exploring fractured identities in modern society. I Love LA, HBO Max. Comedy series about life and chaos in Los Angeles. The Cheer Company, HBO Max. A dark comedy about corporate absurdities. So let's get to the pick of the week. And I have been binge watching this show all week when I had free time, and it is good. It's called Scandal. It's on Netflix. This show has government agencies that are so powerful that they intimidate our politicians. So, in essence, they're making laws. Do you think this really happens? I do. And in this episode I was watching, it was the NSA and someone on the oversight committee in Congress. If you look into it, one of the main reasons that these agencies can operate with such impunity are ambiguous laws that our proposed CQCB legislation fixes. These powerful government agencies, now that we have the benefit of hindsight, which is 2020, affects the way the legislative branch runs, giving government agencies the ability to make laws. So really, we have executive overreach, judicial activism, and then we have government agencies all practically making laws. All this stems off of unconstitutional laws. That's why nobody in the legislative branch should oppose our flagship legislation for a constitutional quality control board. If you were interested in the legislation, you can go see it on the website, thepatriotparty.us, and it's on the main page, or you can go to the proposed legislation and see the date that it was proposed and also see our healthcare reform bill. Episode after episode, you consistently get some of today's most talked about topics and how they actually could have happened. Like one of the episodes, just a little while back, I watched was showing about rigging an election and the voter machines, and it seemed feasible. It seemed like it could really happen. Like, hey, maybe it did happen. I don't know. You should watch it and make up your own mind. But it is a great show. Now, that's a wrap for this week's Patriot Party show. Remember, truth isn't partisan, it's patriotic. Stay safe, stay informed, and check out thepatriotparty.us for more updates, interviews, and movement news. We have a bunch of exciting interviews with some big names planned for the next month. Join us this week for a great interview, and I will see you next Saturday right here where truth meets every corner of the news.